Welcome. We are talking about the beautiful side of life, fashion, products, lifestyle. And I may introduce, I will start with Delia. She is actually, well, I'm a journalist. I'm working for Springer since almost 40 years. And I'm responsible for the whole lifestyle section. And I founded a magazine called Icon, and so people think I have an idea of what we talk about. But the more important, this is Delia. She's a colleague. She worked for Elle magazine for a while, and then she decided to make more of it, because as a journalist you get so many inspirations. So she founded Westwing, and maybe with few sentences you tell us what you're doing.
So we founded Westwing in 2011. We're a retailer for home and living. Mainly online, or I would say almost 100% online, but we start experimenting with a couple of offline concepts at the moment. Our customers are 90% female because, well, a lot of the things we sell are, for instance, scented candles, decorative cushions, and I think that speaks more to a female audience.
Marina Hoermanseder, she's sitting over there. Well, there's only one woman left. She is kind of the brilliant hope that Germany is not only famous for cars design, but also for fashion. Actually, she comes from Vienna, but we take her as a German designer, as she's based in Berlin mainly. And she's famous, what you can see if you don't have to get up, but up, Marina has a very, this is her.
Thank you.
Because she is actually what we would call buckle up. No, she is famous for a very clear design it's elegant and it's on the other hand quite sexy. But Marina, maybe you could just give us an input what you are.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Marina Hoermanseder. I founded my brand only 3 years ago, directly out of fashion school, because I was quite lucky to have some good customers in the beginning, like Lady Gaga, for example, which we send stuff, and this kind of made me get into press so quickly. So this was never a plan, so I don't even have a business plan, to be honest. I'm like the classical designer, artist, and suddenly I became a businesswoman. Now I have, this sounds so little for you guys, but I have 20 employees, which is a lot for me in the fashion industry in Berlin. We do operate worldwide, and basically the brand has been created online, I would say, because like everything's so much faster and we can do so much online marketing and PR. And the buckle is the CI of the whole brand, which has given me another way of like a new revenue stream, because we put this buckle basically everywhere, being tissues, makeup, calendar, like Moleskine calendars, everywhere. So this is my short story so far.
Okay, Frederic, next to me is Frederic Court, as you can hear from the name, French. And Frederic seems to have a very good nose for upcoming success, because you started investing in Farfetch, which is a huge company now, and one of my very favorite channels, which is BOF, Business of Fashion. And in the beginning, when Imran founded it, we talked about it, and he said, Inga, it's going to be a huge thing. And I said, good luck, because there was this Women's Wear Daily, every journalist was using that. And now you start in the morning reading Business of Fashion, which is, it's a huge voice, meanwhile, in the world. And the interesting thing is that he's so successful because it's not about saying, oh, you need to know about this dress or that dress. You have to know about the things behind the curtain. So, Frederic, the name of your company is lovely. It's Felix. It's like happy. So how did you and why did you start that?
No, that's a good question. So yes, actually we went for a name that would be also more approachable. Many venture capital brands are full of testosterone and quite aggressive. We wanted something that would be a bit more friendly, even get a smile on people's face. I get, people ask me sometimes it's, the Latin root of happiness, but also is it by reference to Felix the cat? I don't mind the reference. It's usually quite positive. So, but we wanted to be more approachable, because at the heart of Felix is we basically have two pillars. One, it's our focus. We are more of a thematic investor. We focused on the emergence of new digital brands, and in particular brands that are inspiring, that resonates with consumers, and that are built around communities. So we've anchored Felix around at the intersection of technology and creativity, with backing founders and brands that are basically creating and enabling a new digital lifestyle. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is our style. Because we are a small firm, we are more kind of a boutique style, and in the same way that I've been able and lucky to work with great founders like Jose Neves early on, the founder of Farfetch, or Imran Ahmed, the founder of Business of Fashion, we pride ourselves to be good partners, and to kind of ride the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial life in the same way that we are entrepreneurs ourselves, starting a fund from scratch. So we've engineered our teams and fund size for this model. So we do relatively few things, but quite deeply. Essentially consumer, but also we look at enabling technologies for consumer brands. So reinvention of brand building, using technology to connect to customers, whether online or even in the physical world, because we like retail generally as a category. That's something we are very interested in. So more of we want to be more investor with a point of view and a focus. So we won't do everything, but we try to cherry pick stories and founders that resonate with us.
Wonderful. Ben Fishman, from my favorite town, Boston, and New York, right?
Right.
And Ben, you're
from Boston.
I wouldn't say
from
it's
Boston.
more, it's more Boston. Okay.
Yeah, my kids will make sure it's Boston.
This is
Red
good.
Sox, yes. Yankees, no.
I can understand that well. Ben, you seem to have a multiple personality. No, not really. But you're doing so many jobs kind of at the same time. But at this very moment, you are the CEO of m.Gemi.
Correct.
And maybe later on you will explain us about launch, or the idea that you could do with your system kind of every kind of company. But as a CEO of m.Gemi, what does that mean at the moment?
Sure. So we started m.Gemi about 2.5 years ago, and the business was in essence created to change the way the luxury channel operates. We believed that luxury didn't have to mean expensive. It certainly had to mean quality and beautiful and amazing, but why did it always have to mean expensive? And we also focused on a category of business where we thought the consumer was obsessed, could easily become obsessed with the product, and there's no category like footwear if you want to create obsession. So m.Gemi is in essence reinventing luxury Italian footwear by making shoes in Italy exclusively at the finest factories that the country has to offer, at the very same factories of all the other luxury designers. But we're able to sell them directly to the consumer via the internet and via fitting shops in the physical world at a fraction of the price. And maybe most importantly, if you look behind the curtains of m.Gemi, while we do describe it as a fashion business, and in the eye of the consumer it's a fashion brand, the IP of the business really is a very unique supply chain that is driven through a suite of predictive analytics. Unlike a classic designer brand or luxury brand that takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months to create a line, we produce products in 3 to 7 weeks, and are every week releasing new collections. And for us, content is what drives engagement, and engagement is what drives long lifetime value of a customer. So weekly delivery of products to us creates the excitement, the theater, and the content to drive a pretty robust community. And if you're manufacturing very close to the time the consumer purchases it, you can really use analytics in a powerful way versus applying some information 18 months from now and hoping that it's still valid.
But I mean, this sounds quite familiar now, because we have the see now, buy now concept running all over, though it starts fading kind of. And I was wondering if Actually, I was first wondering why, if you sell with this kind of Italian identity and saying a Gucci designer would work for us or would like to work as much for us than for a brand like Gucci, why did you call it m.Gemi? Because it doesn't sound, the base was Italian, this lady, but it doesn't sound any Italian
So the
anymore.
company, by definition, is not Italian. The company is we're not trying to be a luxury brand. We're trying to redefine luxury, and we're trying to redefine how you think about luxury. You know, there was this really unique moment that I had like 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, where one of my wife's friends came over, and this is a woman that had always had the fancy bags on her shoulder and the fancy shoes, and she was so proud. She walked into a Target and found a sweatshirt, and she was bragging more about the Target sweatshirt than anything else on her wardrobe. And that psyche, that sort of smarts, we see pervasive throughout all of the different areas of the economy. m.Gemi was supposed to be and is becoming a brand that the customer falls in love with because of the product and because of the emotion and the personality that we bring to life. Our shoes are all Italian, and that is because where are the finest shoes in the world made? And it's Italy. And at the end of the day, country of origin usually doesn't matter that much to the customer, but there are these rare opportunities when it does, and shoes are one of those places. We also like, when we come up with a name, so Felix puts a smile on people's face, we like a name where people don't really understand why it was called what it was called, and once they understand that it makes sense, and we get to own it. And there's nothing else that comes to mind except for us when they think of it. So m.Gemi is actually shorthand for one of the co-founders of the business who grew up in Sicily and who is the emotion behind the products that we create.
Yeah, it sounds very dynamic. It doesn't sound like luxury. So is this the kind of post-luxury concept? And what I like very much, if you go to the homepage of m.Gemi, it's one of the first things you read is, don't be surprised if we answer on the first ring. Is this the new luxury, that you have a direct contact to your customer, that you have a relation to the customer, that you know who he is or she is, where she is, what she wants?
Well, we don't want to spook her, so we necessarily won't always say we know where she is, although we know a lot of where she is, but don't tell anybody. So I do think it is an entirely new definition of luxury, and I think it is modern luxury, and it's not telling her what to wear, not putting it on a pedestal and saying this is what you have to wear, but understanding what he or she likes.
But Marina would say you have to wear the buckle thing.
Yeah, so there's two different types of approaches. We very intentionally don't use iconic, sort of consistent things on the product because, and I think you're going to last forever, but we think that, you know, we don't want to build a brand that has perishability. Our goal is not to have this great 3 to 5 year run and then hope that one day we get hot again. Our goal is to build a brand that really has a unique meaning to the customer. And so long as we are designing product in an aesthetic that she recognizes and that she likes, and that we are changing as the trends are changing, we believe we will survive the test of time. Someone asked me the other day in an interview, how I think about building businesses, in an employment interview, how I think about building businesses and what do I think about exit and what am I most proud of that I've done. And I talked about the first business that I started when I was in college, which was a baseball cap store. We ended up opening a whole bunch of these stores in the US called Lids, where we opened these 500 square foot stores and we just sold baseball caps. And what I'm probably most proud of today was the team and I built this business, and 20 years later, there's still 900 Lid stores across the country that people are shopping at. I have nothing to do with it anymore, but it stood the test of time. We want to build brands and we want to build experiences, not that can exit in 3 years or 5 years, but that are dynamic enough so that they can be adjusting and changing with the times, have a core meaning, but not have perishability because we're chasing a trend.
Are you successful because you have an idea of the customer and a huge data base, or are you successful because you have such a good product?
Well, at the end of the day, if we don't have amazing, beautiful shoes, we will fail out of hand. And if all we have is amazing, beautiful shoes, we'll still do pretty well. So it always is about the product. Our customer, on average, is buying 4 times a year. the average luxury purchaser buys less than 1.1 times a year from a luxury brand. So the number one thing we need to make sure of is that when the package arrives at the doorstep and she opens it up, that we have exceeded her expectations. And we can do all the data fabulously well, we can do all of the operations fabulously well. If they don't love the product.
But the other way around, there are so many companies doing beautiful products, and a lot of them are suffering. So does it need the digital world and the digital knowledge to be successful?
So we think the data, we think understanding who your customer is, having a one-to-one relationship with that customer is the key ingredient. So why are we direct to consumer? Why don't we wholesale our shoes? Because we want to know about every single interaction. We want to capture all of that data. So not only are we providing her with the highest quality shoe, and that's just table stakes. The highest quality product is just the table stakes. But then how are we interacting with that customer in a one-on-one basis all of the time? And how are we newsworthy and relevant? I'm going to shut up, though, because these guys probably have something to say, too.
But actually, to follow up on this, I think it's, there are a lot of brands going to market now, and there is no shortage of brands, for sure. And most people, probably many of the customers of m.Gemi and many of your customers, actually, the three of you, don't need that other product. You don't need another candle, another cushion, another skirt, although you might not have many with buckles, but you need to create a desire. So I think it's very important to have these different pillars. Commerce is all about product. So we've seen countless kind of internet-first or digital-first companies started by people who were not coming from a product background, but forgot that commerce is all about product. So if you haven't got product quality or something that is inspiring or distinct, you won't be able to make a living. But at the same time, you do need to have the right margins. Mm-hmm. So the creative side is important, the emotional side is important because you need to create a desire, but you also need to have good unit economics and good margins.
Probably emotional side is a key word, because the internet does not really create emotions, as we know. It's interesting, it could really? Create hate and things like this, but for a product, it doesn't create emotion because you cannot touch it.
I don't agree. I think the internet can create emotion. I think Internet 1.0 didn't.
But why do you open local stores if you...
Emotion is very different than being able to physically touch something. Mm-hmm. So there's a tangibility that I think the client just yearns for. But it's not to do with emotion. In fact, mm-hmm. I think the opportunity that Amazon is providing all of us is Amazon is the antithesis of emotion. Amazon is convenience. We're not allowed to use the word convenience in our office. It's owned by another company. You're knocking out convenience Amazon. So how do we create emotion, actually? And the way we create emotion is every week there's new product. The way we create emotion is that everything we produce is in some way a limited availability. Because you have to create... Great retail's theater. Great retail is all emotion.
Yeah, but obviously it also needs this other side. It's like people trying to reconnect in person again and not only talking on Facebook. So the consumers want to touch things and see things. As we learned, it's not only about a digital business. Or what is your experience? Marina?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I grew up online, so to me the online business is one of the most important ones. I mean, it's, as you say, it's convenient, but I've experienced one thing this year because I have a Picon Kloppenburg, like one of the biggest German retailers, having my stuff, and they had like in all the biggest city of Germany the huge windows full of my leather buckles, full of my stuff and the whole collection. And within such a short time we gained so many new customers because it was just people passing by the windows, staying in front of them, and in best case, getting in the store and buying something. But at least there were millions of people within a couple of days past these windows. And I think Instagram or online or emotions online wouldn't have had the power to do this with my brand, because also other stores, even if it's smaller stores, they did see me only because I was in Picon Kloppenburg, and they got my attention. Like I got their attention because I was at one of the biggest retailers. I wouldn't have catched those online, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Delia, you made the same experience, obviously, because you opened up some pop-up stores.
Well, I must say, I also think that you can create a lot of emotion online. So that's basically how our company was built up upon. So we were always thinking about how can we create a shoppable magazine? How can we really inspire people about our products, about beautiful surroundings, so that then they get the desire to want to have this product, yeah? But I think what Marina just said is a very important part. Marina said, I grew up online, so you're a digital native.
What they're saying is, we're young and these two guys are old. They
No,
grew up online.
I include you both.
But I've got two daughters, so that's an advantage.
So the thing is, in our market, home and living, usually when you are like 18 years old, you don't spend a lot of your money on furniture, like you would spend it on going out, maybe on shoes, things like that.
But so maybe on a pillow.
Maybe on a pillow, yeah. But essentially, like our customers with the big spending powers, they're older. So and some of them are still a bit hesitant. Like they would maybe buy a cushion online, but not really a sofa. So for them, it's very nice to come in our pop-up store in Munich and really touch and feel the products, sit on the sofa. So essentially, I think. Offline stores, for us, it's marketing, it's not a sales channel.
We've had an interesting phenomenon with emotional connection digitally. So when I did my first foray into e-commerce, our goal was to have our call to order ratio as low as possible. As few people call customer service as possible per the order they make. At m.Gemi, our client services team, i.e. customer service, is in the marketing function. And our goal is, if we could have every single customer talk to a client services agent, that would be fabulous. Because what we find is that interaction generates trust, which generates sales. And so there's lots of different ways to interact with the customer. And if you interact with our client services team, you are most likely to be in our highest quartile of customers. And it just speaks to whether it's a fitting room, there's so many different ways to create that emotional connection with the client.
So this is the moment, I mean, there are so many shoes in the world and so many places where you can buy it, so this would be the moment where you could say, why is m.Gemi unique? What makes it, why should one invest?
So I think at its core, first of all, it starts with the brand. And when we look at starting businesses, we talked about this before we got together, there's a bunch of things that are essential. One is that you have to be able to build a brand that the customer can truly emotionally connect with, that they can obsess over. Two, we believe at the end of the day, you need to have an unfair advantage. That anyone can run faster on any given day, anyone can be smarter. So we need to really truly believe we have an unfair advantage. And three, we need to make sure that predictive analytics, data science can be applied to the business to remove some of the, we love this shoe and we think it's going to sell. I believe m.Gemi is seeing very unique success right now, not that we don't have challenges, but that we're seeing very unique success right now because we're over-delivering on the price-value quality equation. We are very true to our brand, obsessive about the experience. You do not compromise. You're buying a $750 shoe for $240. The packaging is exquisite, the level of service is perfect, beyond perfect. We are crazy about it. And at the end of the day, you feel really good about the purchase because you're getting this beautiful product at this unique price and you're being treated exceptionally well. And we're decent digital marketers and we're decent at creating excitement around what a brand means and what it stands for.
Could you do the same with Marina's stuff?
I was just wondering, is 750 euros the
Is there a
average
trick
price?
behind?
No.
of
What
the
I was
shoes?
saying was a quintessential luxury shoe from a high-end European brand is, say, $700. We make that exact same quality product, in many cases in that exact same factory. We sell it for $250.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I think there's also like online, offline price range is a huge thing because I experienced the same in my online shop. Like the lower price stuff works so much better if you like push it on Instagram, on Facebook, all the social media stuff, because the girls who you are reaching at, they wouldn't spend 1,400 euros for a skirt, but like a team jumper that they can wear every day, a casual wear for 119 euros, they're more likely to spend it. So that's the thing, you have the perfect price range, but as soon as you have a shoe, for example, you designed the shoe together with me, for example, as a corporation, and then it's going to cost like 1,500 euros. It's going to be more difficult to get this sold online with only online marketing than offline and having like this real connection to the people and this real emotion and showing it to people and having like an event and stuff.
I'm not sure I agree. I think it all speaks to, it's just who you're talking to. So it's who the audience is. There's a certain audience. Our customer buys very expensive shoes. She buys $700, $1,200, $1,500 shoes, and she buys our shoes. And what she's finding out, and the reason the repeat rate is so high, is because she's realizing she's getting the same, if not better product, more beautiful product, and that same sort of unique and special feeling when you buy something that you love.
Will she buy it for the third of the, like for the 3 times the price?
Well, she's also buying online. I mean, the luxury brands are seeing success selling digitally, but it's all, if you think about Facebook marketing, it's all who is the audience you're trying to reach. And I mean, all of our marketing is we do very little shotgun marketing. We do very little marketing to swaths of people. We really focus on specific audiences. We know there's certain customers in our file that will spend between $200 and $300 and that's it. We know there's certain people that will spend between $300 and $500. We also then have our crossovers. And so we market to all of those people very differently based on sort of what we're selling and what channels we're selling through.
And I think what's interesting now is that it's a real challenge for established luxury brands because the digital native customers are expecting to buy those products, and there are many very wealthy digital native customers who want to buy those 5, 10, 15,000 maybe jewelry items through WeChat or WhatsApp or that kind of channel because that's the way they live their life, and it's a real challenge for the established brands to adjust to this new world because the experience in the store, especially a luxury store, can be extremely intimidating. It's white gloves, it's very plush, it's not for everybody. And younger customers are very happy to spend significant amount of money through
actually,
mobile phone.
that's changing. The luxury world is changing as well because what they now do is they build kind of experiences, brand experiences. They do the big flagship stores and then they start more and more selling online because that's where the kind of turnaround is. But they need the stores more than ever to show and to give the experience of the brand.
I think they need to be where the customer is. So if the customer is working on Avenue Montaigne or on whatever high street, they need to be there. And if the customer is on Instagram, they need to be there. If the customer is using other his or her mobile phone, it needs to be there as well. So you really need to follow the customer journey because the decision to purchase might happen at each of these points.
This is probably the most difficult thing to know nowadays where the customer is because in former times he was in a city or he was she was shopping or whatever. Now she's all over seems to be. So do you need a huge marketing? I mean, do you need Instagram, whatever, Facebook? I mean, do you have to spend so much more money on this as well?
So there are 2 different things. One is advertising and promotion. The other one is retail.
Awareness.
So to sell, we were discussing this earlier. I think in fashion and up to a certain price point, everybody will need to be on Amazon. Because this is where people are, and so you may not want to be there with the same product you have in the store, but you probably want to have your brand there, and they can probably create a specific environment for you.
Would you sell a different product there? To not ruin your brand, just to be aware on Amazon?
I wouldn't say not ruin it, but to offer something different, because obviously you will never be able to compete directly with Amazon. So offering something different on Amazon, absolutely. But if you take the partnership between Gucci and Farfetch, Gucci have got all of their boutiques, they have got their own physical stores, and now they're connecting directly their stores to Farfetch, where we offer 90 minutes delivery in most cities, where you can buy, right now on my mobile phone, I can buy from the Gucci store probably in Berlin and get delivered in 90 minutes. That's a Farfetch-powered service for Gucci. So I think we'll see more partnerships between brands and platforms, depending on the audiences, depending on the geographies, and brands will have to pick their platforms. Maybe it's Amazon, maybe it's eBay, maybe it's Farfetch, maybe it's Alibaba, or a combination of both. But this is the new high street, and as a brand, you've got to be there as well as maybe selling through wholesale on supermarkets or different boutiques, as well as selling in your own stores.
If you have a product like Marina has or Delia has, is it nowadays, which way do you have to go? I mean, she's starting with her product, with her idea as a designer. You, Ben, and you start from the other way around. You target something and you say, okay, I want to build up a brand for shoes or a brand for kids wear or even a coffee brand, and what are the tools that I need for that, and where do I find someone doing it? So are you going to be kind of the future, though you are older than Marina, but what would you advise people like Marina or Delia, how can they kind of survive? Because your approach seems to be more successful in a way, or more.
I think they all work. I think that you create an iconic look and feel that the customer falls in love with, and that becomes your Trojan horse to build a big and powerful business. And that is an unfair advantage. If the buckle becomes synonymous with a certain style and a certain aesthetic, that then gives this company the license to start doing other things, and that badge of credibility is huge. I think what you have to do if you're a brand that's leveraging an iconic moment is you have to really move quickly to establish a broader base and not be satisfied not get pigeonholed into that one product. You need to, when times are best is when you need to be most aggressive with changing. But I think that if you can become famous for something like this, it's a huge advantage. And so I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do any of this. I actually think your business is more like what we're talking about. You are a marketplace, and you identified one of the most powerful industries in all of consumer, which is how people decorate where they live, and the amount of money people will spend on where they live is astonishing. And your goal is to be the place where that's all curated. So I think that in many ways the three of us are thinking very similarly. And this is a different model, but I don't think worse or better.
So it's not either or, it's kind of a multiple thing. Delia, when you started, where did you find your customer? On Instagram?
No, when we started, there was
Instagram.
basically no Instagram. No, we found our customer at the beginning. So Westwing is a club model, and in the beginning it was closed, so you could get only in via invitation. So that was for the first couple of weeks, and then we opened it up, and we found our customers over different sources. So we did a lot of classical PR because I'm a journalist myself, and I just know that it works very well when you're presented in a beautiful magazine. We also we have a strong, tech side in our company, so we did a lot of online marketing, a lot of performance marketing. I personally never believed so much in that. We also took it down by now because I think for us, like as you said before, like what we sell, it's not something that is sort of convenience buy. It's not like on Amazon. It's not like you have something you need. You don't have an instant need. Like no one wakes up in the morning and is like, I totally need a new scented candle. Like rarely happens. So you have to create that desire because people are not sort of Googling usually, I don't know, a vanilla scented candle or something like that. It doesn't really happen that much. So I think nowadays, it's both sides. Like, honestly, I think you cannot sell a crap product, or you cannot sell a product for a too high price. So the product is absolute key. For me, convenience is also absolute key for e-commerce, because when your customer has a bad, expectation, they won't buy again. But also, thirdly, like branding, it's so important, because at the end of the day, people, they get to know us online. We are new brands, we have new items, so we have to create a brand that people trust and come back to.
To have a business like whatever you sell, it seems to be very exhausting nowadays, because it's a kind of 7 days a week, 24 hours. So if you would invest, Frederic, if you look for people, you're looking for strong people who can manage that, or for creative people, because business seems to be so difficult compared to former times where you just were a designer.
I don't know if business is more difficult. I think there are more possibilities, and clearly
Seems
also,
to be exhausting.
Well, it can be exhausting in a world where you are open 24/7, for sure. And I was talking to a blogger the other day. Was talking about blogger exhaustion is like a new concept where you have to kind of be always on to kind of run your personal profile. So I think it depends also how you kind of staff yourself or fund yourself, and there are so many ways now to go to market much more cheaply than before, because you can focus Marina is a creative, and today as a creative you've got so many more possibilities to connect to your customers. Before, the tiring thing was to get the attention of the buyer from Neiman Marcus or Selfridges or these people who were kind of ruling the world, and it was very difficult as a new brand to connect to customers. Today, you can connect to customers directly with some creativity and very, very cheaply. So I think it's really good news for creative talent. You talked earlier about Imran Ahmed from the Business of Fashion, who has created one of the most powerful voices globally in the fashion industry. And he's done that on his own for the first 10-year journey.
Sofa.
On his sofa for the first 7 years, starting as a blogger and building influence. Yes, he's worked really hard, but we are looking for people who are ambitious, resilient, and creative. And today, through technology, you've got a fantastic, so many options to launch your business and to scale.
Are there still any borders? I mean,
Say again?
Are there still any borders? Because, I mean, you're an American company, but dealing with Italian shoes, is there anything, is it all global nowadays, or are we coming back to a local feeling and to a local strength? What would you think?
Well,
I think it depends fully on the market, honestly. Like for us in home and living, it's still quite local because the market is very fragmented. There are a lot of small local brands, so brands that are known in France are not known in Germany and vice versa. However, the world is definitely melting together. I think social media plays a big part in that. So I think there are still borders for us, just also practical borders like logistics. If you want to ship, a couch to China or wherever, it's a huge, it's not easy. And then I think also a border for, maybe you agree, at least I can say from my experience, there's always sort of the saying that, in the online world, people are not so creative and so on, it's only tech people. No, it's not. I think you can be very creative. But however, creating a website and, just getting it tech-wise, making to work and adding new features to your site, that takes a lot of time. So that's very often for us, for instance, a big border.
I think that it is global, period. I think that technology is such that if you're building a company today, for almost everything, maybe minus perishables, food services, or couches, meaning massive oversized items, you are going to be a global brand. 10 years from now, you're going to sell everywhere. We've just finished doing a huge RFP into shipping. We're going to be able to ship a pair of shoes from Italy directly to the U.S. customer for less money than the way we do it today, which is we manufacture our shoes, we ship them all to a freight forwarder at a port in Italy. We then have it put on a boat and sent to the U.S., where it goes on a truck to another distribution center, where then orders are placed and we ship them out.
Does it make sense?
The technology now exists and the rates now exist so that we can make our shoes, have a central distribution point in Italy, and ship to every address in the world and have it be financially feasible. And that is new in the last 3 years. So to be able to do that and not, I think everyone who's starting a business today that is both digital and physical, to not think it's going to be a global experience is to allow someone else to come in and take your business away from you, because they will do it globally and do it at the long run, do it better and faster.
Yeah. And customers are smart as well. They know that they can shop in other countries. That the internet is the kind of a global level playing field, and it's where it's difficult is for the brands who've been used to grow their business with different markets. Most luxury products are like 30% more expensive in Korea because they have local distributors. That doesn't make any sense for the customers. Only makes sense for the distributors. Korean customers, can buy directly from Western retailers, and they do, and they get a product at a very different price.
Should you rather invest in a supplement, in a logistic company than in a fashion or other company?
It's a good question. We are very, very actively looking at investing in logistics.
Yeah.
We are big believers in cross-border commerce. That's a core investment theme for us, and we are actively mapping all of the chain to see where we could invest, and that might be services, that might be software, that might be companies that leverage logistics in a powerful way, like you seem to be doing, or like companies like Farfetch are doing. So we think that in this world, having a technology DNA is going to be a great advantage, and that's really a challenge for brands who end up having essentially a creative differentiation, because the world is changing in terms of distribution.
We are facing a rollback to nationalism all over the world, very strong. So is lifestyle the answer to overcome that, or would that be too much? Because people on the one hand try to think local because the internet is so big, the globalization is kind of frightening so many people because they have no clue where is the end and where it's like looking in the sky. Mm-hmm. And so, on the other hand, more and more brands are talking about international business. So what would be your answer? Maybe, Marina, you start.
Well, I think they can go hand in hand. Like as Ben said, they operate globally, internationally, but still it's the Italian craftsmanship still being in Italy. So I think you can act globally, but still have the power of a certain nation, and you keep it there, and then you ship worldwide. So you can be wherever, you just keep the national power.
I think that's literally exactly correct. I think when customers, one of the things that the customer loves about m.Gemi, so we've learned through our research, is that we tell the story of the artisans. We tell the story of Marina, who makes our driving shoe in a small town outside in Tuscany, and the whole village sews the uppers, and we show videos of that being done, and it allows you to connect with the artisanship and the old world creativity, yet you can experience it in this digital world. So we often talk about the old world meets the new world. I don't know if any of this can help deal with some of the nationalism that's going on, and nor is that necessarily what we're charged with trying to do. Although, if anyone has any ideas on what we do about my president, I'm all ears, so please send me recommendations. But I'm not sure we're solving that as we sell our shoes.
Delia?
Well, I can just tell from our market one sort of, I think it's a really nice trend, at least to maybe end our discussion with something really lifestyle-oriented. So the whole ethno and bohemian trend, it's so big in interiors, and it's basically, you combine interior from all parts of the world. Like you combine Moroccan tea glasses with a rug from Persia, and you put something nice from a New York designer on it, and so on. So basically, I think it shows also that the big part, of the young generation, they love to travel, and they don't see that boundaries anymore so often. And this is why everyone is sort of really comfy to get that international look in their home. So I know, it's just a lifestyle trend, but always trends sort of represent also a generation and their thoughts. So I think it's a beautiful thing.
Frederic?
I'll just give an example of one of the companies we backed. It's a French company. The French name is La Ruche qui dit oui, and the English name is Food Assembly, which is basically using software to power local communities in the food market. So they are connecting farmers to consumers across over 1,000 local markets in Europe, starting in France and now expanding across Europe, and really meeting the need of people for fresh, local, in-season food, and where you can have a physical experience and meet the producer. And that is the kind of a decentralized model. They have a brand, they have software, and they are powering those local physical experiences, not very convenient, so at the other extreme of the Amazon experience, but offering a unique product, and it's a very social experience as well. And so that's also the kind of thing that we can do with technology.
Okay, so this is a good word to finish this section. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for taking part.